Hello and welcome to the Cannon Fire Podcast, episode 172. Live on YouTube today with a little bit of news for you guys. The latest developments out of one Buc. Wide receiver Chris Godwin has been hit with the franchise tag. So it is one step of many towards keeping this team together for at least next season. So very, very encouraging. We'll talk about Shaq Barrett. Contract negotiations with number 58 have begun. Tom Brady possibly going to be a part of a restructure. I think it's likely at this point. We'll cover that. And as I mentioned before, we are live on YouTube. Shout out to our guys in the live chat. NFL God, YT De Niro, JD Base. Welcome back to the Cannon Fire Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Evan Schefter Wanish. I mean, dude, we were talking before the show. You've got your free agency get-up going today. You've got your phone running, post notifications on for anyone and everyone. You got your music blaring in the background. I thought you were going to keep it playing while we were doing the show. It would have been baller as hell, but, I mean, you got the whole setup and you've been on top of it today.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's one of the busier times in the year. So, I mean, I could have had the music. It just would have been, we might have been copyrighted too. So, not sure. But, yeah, that would have been an interesting show. Just trying to mix the music with my voice and, try to make it out. So, it would have been interesting. But, yeah, I got the whole shooting match here. So, really excited that we finally get some news, not only just for the Bucs, but around the NFL. It's been a crazy day, and we're not done yet. So.
Absolutely. So give us the breakdown on Chris Godwin getting the franchise tag. Buccaneers announced that a couple of hours ago. And obviously at this point it means that Shaq Barrett and Levante David are going to be candidates for free agency unless the Bucs lock them up to a long-term deal, which they've already started talking to Shaq about. But Chris Godwin getting slapped with the tag, he gets a pretty good payday.
Yeah, this was something obviously it was expected. It was, I don't believe there, maybe, I mean, I'm sure the Bucs would have liked a long-term contract, but Chris Godwin might have wanted a long-term contract too, but the Bucs wanted it at their price, and Chris Godwin wanted his price, and his price was likely $20 million, maybe even more. If he hit the open market, he was going to get $20 million, possibly more from somebody. Oh yeah, and it wouldn't have been Tampa. I mean, I know I said last time that if Godwin hit the open market, he was gone. I just didn't think there was any way he was going to re-sign back if he hit the open market, which obviously isn't going to. So the franchise tag is expected to be about $16.4 million. So, I mean, that leaves the Buccaneers with a little cap space. So they're going to have to do a few roster moves that obviously we talked about. The Brady restructuring thing we'll talk about in a little bit. But, I mean, that offense now is pretty much intact. I mean, there's obviously two big defensive free agents they have in Shaq Barrett and Levante David. But the big thing with getting this offense back is you get Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and Rob Gronkowski, he's likely to come back. I don't really think there's much debate there. Maybe Cameron Brate goes, but for the most part, this offense is going to be back, and it's a huge step for Tom Brady, and just to keep that chemistry. Obviously, it's a word we heard a lot. So to be able to keep that chemistry, I think is important, and it worked out for Godwin and the Bucs, I think.
Absolutely. And it put to bed any of those ridiculous rumors that we had talked about, like the OBJ stuff. You know what I mean? Just the hypothetical things where, like, if the Buccaneers lose Chris Godwin, now we can narrow it down. If the Buccaneers lose Shaq Barrett, because, let's kind of take the conversation this direction. We know Chris Godwin's going to be back. All you have left now is Shaq Barrett, Levante David. We talked about on our last episode the possibility of Levante kind of getting, a 3, maybe 4-year deal. Probably 3. Shaq Barrett going to be the guy you want to lock up for maybe that extra year. Where does your priority shift to? Because Levante David over 30, Shaq Barrett's in a situation where if the Bucs throw 19.5 mil at him, and another team throws, I don't know, more than 21 is my guess, then he's probably not going to be a Buc. Levante David, you don't really have to give him that huge payday because I think he's done making the big money in his career, even though he's able to. Like, I don't know. Where do you see this shaking out? What do you think the Bucs' priority is with those two guys?
It's difficult because you have one hand, Shaq Barrett plays the more important position because it's a pass rusher.
Yeah.
Like he just, a pass rusher is going to be more important than an interior linebacker. Like it is. However, Levante David, and he's been the defense's backbone for 10 years now. Like, I mean, even more, right? It's it would be tough to walk away from Levante David, but it's interesting. It's interesting because, like I said, position importance. You would re-sign Barrett and let David walk if you had to choose one or the other, right? This is obviously they want both back, right? This has been established that they would want both back, but let's say you have to choose one or the other, right? You got to choose one or the other. It would be interesting decision for them. Position importance, I think it'd be Shaq Barrett, but like actual like football team importance, man, this would be such a different defense without Levante David. And like, I mean, then you're looking for the draft because there's not really many, like Matt Milano we've brought up as a replacement for Levante David, but like there's not really an obvious one. Oh, let Levante David go and sign this guy. There's a lot of pass rushers out there. We've listed them. Leonard Floyd didn't get the franchise tag. Romeo Okwara didn't get the franchise tag. Carl Lawson, Yannick Ngakoue, Matt Judon, all of these guys, they're talented, and there's a lot of different options. Bud Dupree didn't get the franchise tag. I think he'll be out of their price range, but he didn't get the franchise tag. So I would understand where the Bucs would be coming from if they choose either one. I think they want both. I still think they're going to get both. And here's why. I'm going to explain my thing here. I think Levante David's coming back no matter what. I don't really think that's not a hard one for me.
Yeah.
The Shaq Barrett one. So I've had a lot of people ask me this over the last 6 hours. I just can't see Shaq Barrett going to the two teams I think that could really offer him a lot of money are Jacksonville and the Jets, right? They have a pass rush need. They have a ton of cap space. They could do it. Like, does he want to go there for 21 mil, and win 5 or 6 games? Like, he still wants to win. Like, money is important, obviously, and it's a business first, but a player, business first, and then, like, winning is second. Like, that's the thing, right? He still wants to win. So, like, does he want to go to Jacksonville or New York for 21 million, per year for 4 or 5 years and win 5 or 6 games? Or does he want to stay in Tampa and a defense he's familiar with teammates he's familiar with and gets along with for 19.5 million for 4 years and be a Super Bowl contender for at least two or three of them those years? So that's where I think that Shaq Barrett will come back. Right, yeah. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit. I think Bucs fans are going to be nervous. I think he's hitting the market. I think that's established that he's going to enter free agency next.
Oh yeah,
he's not going to re-sign tonight. Like they're gonna he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So it'll be interesting to see. But I do think he's back. We got a lot of stuff in the chat here. A lot of opinions in the chat.
I was going to pick up on the topic of an edge rusher, Shaq Barrett being a guy that. A lot of people look at it. The Bucs are in a situation where they're going to want to kind of play it safe with their cap. And if you want to move on from Shaq Barrett, here's a good point that Nestor Cervantes makes in the live chat. If I mispronounce that, I do apologize. He actually commented earlier about your mustache too. He said you shouldn't have shaved it.
See that?
Yeah.
Thanks for noticing, Nestor.
We brought this up briefly last week, but. He says, as long as we have Vita demanding double teams, any decent edge rusher would do. What are your thoughts on this? And, I mean, I can actually really see how that's a valid point. We talked about how JPP and Shaq Barrett are another level of pass rusher when you have a guy like Vita Vea in the middle. And the good thing about Vita is that he's not really going anywhere this offseason or even maybe next offseason. So... you look at it from that perspective, it makes a lot of sense. But let me also say this. Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul are above average pass rushers. So I don't know if you'll be able to just throw anybody in there, but I think it's a good point to make. And when you look at the Bucs, cutting some corners on paying guys, maybe that's a way they go to.
Yeah, that's a good point that you make. Like, you can't just sign a guy for $5 million and, oh, yeah, Vita Vea. Like, if that was the case, then Anthony Nelson would be getting sacks consistently and getting playing time. That's not the case. Like, he's still going to be a good player, and Shaq Barrett's a good player. Good pass rushers get paid. I know there's a lot of stuff in the chat. Just think about Trey Hendrickson here. He had 13.5 sacks. He's exclusively a pass rusher. For the Saints, he played exclusively on passing downs. He can't really defend and run that well. I don't really see it as a fit. A lot of other things.
A lot of people talking about, and I guess we'll just address it because, as we said on the last episode, it is rumor season, and a lot of people asking about it. Gerald McCoy kind of came out. He was on Sirius XM talking to an NFL show, and he just talked about how he'd like to play in Tampa again, how happy he's been for these guys. And, Gerald McCoy was a big piece of this defense for a long time. But I think somebody else we know said it best when, as much as I like Gerald McCoy, I just don't think an aging 3-tech is what this defense needs right now.
So, me and you are going to disagree on this a tad. Because what's the harm? That's what I look at it as. He literally came out and said he doesn't care about money. Like, he legit said that whoever he signs with, his days of getting a big contract are over. Like, he realizes that. So if you can sign this guy for the vet minimum to come in, and you don't even know if he's healthy yet, right? So I mean, he suffered a major injury. So he said he's not going to be cleared until training camp. So if you're going to bring in a guy to be depth behind, a guy like Ndamukong Suh, why not Gerald McCoy? Because here's the thing, like, Gerald McCoy, I think, provides you that pass rush, that interior pass rush that you could use. He'd still be going up against a guard, right? It's just they just wouldn't be able to drop him in coverage. Right, which I don't really think they shouldn't be dropping Suh in coverage anyway. But.
McCoy is a guy who they would bring in on a rotation, obviously, but you'd mostly bring him in on passing downs. And I heard this talked about last night. I was watching a Real Bucs Talk. They did a live stream with our boy James, aka Mr. Bucs Nation. But they talked about Gerald McCoy, and there were guys in that stream in the chat on both ends of the spectrum. And I agree to where he's a situational guy. He definitely plays the pass a little bit better than he would play the run. And you get him next to a guy like Vita Vea, it's hard to tell what he could do. But
he played what, 1 year with Vita Vea, I think? Or 2 years, I think.
Maybe one. Yeah, maybe one.
Okay. Vita Vea's first year was that Dirk's last year? Yeah, it was Dirk's last year. Yeah, so he played 1 year with Vita Vea.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing to think about, but
he never played with Shaq Barrett either.
He didn't.
Gerald McCoy never played with Shaq Barrett.
Let me ask you one thing. At the end of all of this, because you bring in Gerald McCoy, it doesn't really factor into it if Suh's going to be back or not, but my question for you is who ultimately wears 93?
Yeah, that was my thing. I don't know who wears 93. I don't know.
I mean, personally,
if both are back, it would have to be Suh because Suh was already on the team.
That's what I'm saying. If Suh comes back, I feel like it's going to suck for old Gerald to have to wear like 91 for a season. But,
yeah. I'm sorry. If you want to be back, that's the price you got to pay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting. And I think that I'm not saying it's the best option. I'm saying they could do worse. And especially in a draft class where interior defensive line, it's not great. Like the depth of it's not great. The top half of it's not great. Do you really want to be reaching for somebody like that? In the first or second or third round? I don't know. I'd prefer just. If you're able to land him, I think you could do much worse. That's basically my point. I don't think it happens.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think the Bucs may there could be a path to that happening. I just ultimately don't think it happens. But it's a decent thought. I know we've seen a lot of stuff about Odell Beckham Jr. about like Chris Godwin. So here's the thing: the report was falsely not. It wasn't even really a report.
It wasn't even a report to begin with.
Yeah. It was just Adam Schefter goes and says Tom Brady might want to play with Odell Beckham Jr., which has been like said for years. Like those guys have wanted to play with each other for a long time. But Schefter even said it's unlikely due to Tampa's cap situation. And then people just ran with it because Gridiron from Bleacher Report said Tom Brady wants to play with Odell, and they were like, "Oh, it's going to happen." So, it was never really a thing that Brady called Jason Light and said get Odell. That wasn't the case.
Right.
It was just a matter of look, Tom Brady likes Odell Beckham Jr. If Chris Godwin were to move on, I said that Odell would be a realistic target if Godwin walked. But I also didn't. I also didn't think Godwin was going to walk. So,
Right.
yeah, it wasn't going to happen. It was never going to happen. So unless, like I said, sacrifices were made, which I don't think the Bucs were willing to make. So, glad to see we can finally put that to bed. Because if Godwin would have walked or even knock out the franchise tag today, man, it would have been, the rumors would have been loud and it would have been annoying.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Bucs moving some money around. We talked at the beginning about some uncomfortable moves they're going to have to make here soon to free up some cap space, but another rumor that's kind of popped up, and I guess it's gaining some traction because I think it's likely and I think it is somewhat legitimate. Tom Brady, that contract restructure, maybe give him an extra year. You know, where do things kind of fall here? Because last reports I had seen is that this is really picking up steam.
Yeah, I think it'll end up happening. I would guess 1 year if I had to guess. I know there's been some rumblings. Maybe it's multiple years. I think 1 year, that would mean he's here this year and next year. I think that would be more realistic. Like I said, Big Ben restructured his contract and stayed the Steelers $15 million. So, I mean, if Brady could do something similar and save, what, 10, 11, $12 million, that could go a long way in retaining some of these guys. I mean, you're talking about an extra 12 mil. I mean, that could single-handedly almost bring back Levante David. So, yeah, it would be interesting. I think it will happen. They're going to have to do it because, I mean, right now they don't even have money to sign really anybody back. Yeah. Right? I mean, their current cap space is around probably $3 million, although the official salary cap has not been set yet. So but we assume that teams have gotten a number or else the franchise tag deadline would have been pushed back. It has not. Teams went about their business. So, it'll be interesting to see, but Brady's just one of them, right? And we're going to get into him right now. Brady's they're going to have to do more than just Brady. It can't just be a Brady extension and then you're done. Like, you're going to have to do some real finagling here.
Oh, absolutely. And, we talked about the situation that this team is in. It's important to remember that throughout this process, it's all about next year. It's not about 2 years from now. It's not about 3 years from now. Right. I know there are... I know that there are people who really focus on the future of this team.
That's what the draft's for.
That is what the draft is for, but even the draft is a different situation than it has been in many, many years. At pick number 32, the Bucs definitely have a little bit of room to play around if they really want to. I mean, obviously, they're going to probably get... I think best player available at that point is going to seem like common sense once you're at 32, but... You do have a little bit more free range to kind of mess around there. And as far as free agency goes, what I was starting to say was it's just all about keeping this team together for next year. We'll worry about the future when the draft comes around, but we'll worry about the future whenever Tom Brady's done winning Super Bowls, as far as I look at it. Maybe it's a close-sighted way to look at it, but, I mean, the facts are there. The guy has the hardware. Bucs got their second Lombardi. You got to believe in Tom now more than ever, right?
Yeah, to me, you have such a limited window now still. And with that defense, Devin White's still on a rookie contract. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, all still on rookie contracts. Vita Vea, rookie contract. I mean, you got to take advantage of that. Antoine Winfield, rookie contract. And then on the offensive side, Tristan Wirfs, rookie contract. Mike Evans. I mean, this guy's a top 7, 8 receiver, but he ain't paid like it, right? Like he's paid like a top 15 receiver almost. So take advantage of that. And yeah, just like you said, I think in the draft you could look if you like a guy at 32 and you don't think he's going to play at all. Okay, pick him. That could be a future pick. But right now, your goal should be how do you get back to the Super Bowl this year, not next year, not okay. Let's hope. How do you get back this year? And I think that's what their goal is. They did when the day they signed Tom Brady was when they declared that they were going to be all in for those 2 years. Well, guess what? Just because he won a Super Bowl in year one, this is year 2 now, right? I think people are sort of forgetting that was year 1. All right. And I know not many people were expecting a Super Bowl in year 1, but now that was house money, baby, because a lot of people, including myself, were expecting year 2 to be the Super Bowl year. So now you should be doing everything possible to move money around to get the best team that you possibly can for 2021. And I think they will.
Yeah. A couple of important points in the chat. NFL God had said that Mike Evans restructured all his career. Do you think he's eventually going to get tired of getting money taken that he was promised? It's interesting to remember, and I know Kevin came in with the save, but that money's not being taken. It's just being moved around. Like, the Bucs are going to have to pay him, and they'll ultimately pay him, but the year that they do, man,
It's just different forms. It's
Yeah.
it's signing bonuses, it's incentives, it's a lot of different things. It's guaranteed money, it's voidable years, it's all that stuff. The cap, I don't want to say the cap is a myth because clearly, I mean, it's not. Like as you're seeing with the Saints and stuff and the Eagles this year, like they've had to really cut down and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Saints are going to lose a lot of people. They've already had to cut a lot of people. I know they just tagged Marcus Williams, but there's ways when you're able to. The Bucs haven't had to do this really ever, I think. So they're able to do this with no issue, and that is, create money. And I just saw it in a chat. Kick the can down the road, right? That's a perfect analogy. Just keep kicking that can down the road. When you get to it again, if you want to kick it, you can. It all depends on where the team's at, But right now, I think all the money issues, just kick it down the road. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It's funny because kicking the can down the road, he was actually referring to New Orleans.
Yeah.
And, there has been some other news around the NFL coming out, and whether you know it or not, it does somewhat pertain to the Bucs in a way. The Saints, just because it's funny to watch them crawl out of cap hell. Kevin put it perfectly. He said, I'm going to be real. I have no idea how the Saints tag Marcus Williams with negative cap space. What the hell is going on in New Orleans? We heard all these horror stories during the regular season about how they're just going to be drowned by the negative cap space. And we've seen them, start to cut people, decide they're not going to sign certain people to try and crawl back out. But, what really is going on there? And what kind of shape are they going to be in week 1 of next year?
Not good. I mean, money wise, roster wise, they're still going to have a solid roster. And a lot of people have asked me, well, okay, how bad, rank the teams, Panthers, Saints, Falcons. And I'm like, the Saints are still if there's any other team that's the biggest competition to the Bucs, it's the Saints, because Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk, Cameron Jordan, Sean Payton, Cameron Jordan, and Marshawn Lattimore. That's their core, right? Those guys are all still back. It's not like they're losing any of those guys. So, they're still going to be a solid football team. I don't think they'll win the NFC South. I think the Buccaneers will, but I still think the Saints will be a solid team, and maybe they'll make it in as a wild card. But I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, they're going to lose Trey Hendrickson, as we talked about earlier. He's gone. Somebody's going to overpay him. Marcus Williams, I don't know. Maybe it's a tag and trade, and they're trying to get a draft pick out of it. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, they're going to sign Jameis back, most likely. Can't really do much else for agency, and I guess they're hoping to hit on a draft pick because I don't know. It's interesting what's going on, but it's definitely, that is the definition of kicking the can down the road. If you want to look at anybody, look at the Saints.
Over in Dallas, Dak Prescott got paid, buddy, to the tune of about $40 million a year. And meanwhile, you've got Tom Brady sparing money for the rest of his team to make another legitimate shot at a Super Bowl. It's just funny to see that play out, but what do you make of Dak Prescott getting paid, and what does it do for the quarterback market moving forward?
Well, I mean, good for him, right? I think they toyed around with him so much, and it
did feel like they were just pulling him along for the last season and a half, 2 years, talking about a deal.
And then he was playing great football, and then got injured, right? And I mean, it was a horrific injury, and so good for Dak. I'm happy to see he got paid. QB market. Baltimore, Buffalo, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are gonna get paid. Congratulations.
When is Lamar Jackson set to negotiate?
Lamar Jackson, well, they're gonna do a deal, I believe, this offseason. So probably this summer they'll do a contract extension.
Okay.
But I mean, every quarterback now is gonna be getting $40 million or so, which makes Tom Brady just look insane. I mean, I'm obviously I would take Patrick Mahomes over Tom Brady. So yeah, sure. $45 million a year from Mahomes, it's Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
But Tom Brady at $25 million. His cap hit for this year is 28.3, which 28-3, it's good stuff there. But that's before obviously a restructure or anything like that. So that's his cap hit right now. And I mean, it's just such a bargain because he's playing at an elite level, right? He's playing as a top 10 quarterback, and he's making nowhere near top 10 quarterback money. It's truly remarkable. Hey, Willie Beeman's in the chat. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Good afternoon, fellas. Shout out to all the fans in the chat. Really appreciate you guys, all 58 of you rocking with us right now. Leave a thumbs up if you're in here.
I can't even keep up, so many in the chat.
Leave a thumbs up if you're in here. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're going to keep you updated best we can on all the Bucs news as it happens. And if you guys want, you can go check out some past episodes as well.
Before we get out of here, we got a few more things. Let's talk about other ways they can make money other than the Brady, extension.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously Mike Evans, I know they've gone to the well, right? They've asked him to do it a bunch, and he's done it. They can restructure him yet again. They can if they want. And then Ali Marpet is another guy they can restructure, which I believe they might have restructured either last season or the year before. But then the interesting thing is they can extend Ryan Jensen to lower his cap hit if they would like, because he's a free agent next year. Extend Donovan Smith, or I don't think Smith will want an extension because he's a free agent and he's going to be like 28 next year, so he might be able to cash in on a bigger deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he'll want that, or if he's even worth the Bucs. If he's like, okay, give me $20 million, they're like, no, forget it.
I'm looking ahead just a little bit. Talking about Donovan Smith, I am very curious to see what his market would look like, just because I don't know what other teams view him as. You got the New Orleans Saints defensive line, who for the past 3-4 years has viewed him as a turnstile. But I'm just curious what other teams would think of him. Like, after this season, it would be a good year for him to get paid, but obviously that has to carry over in the next season, and consistency is key. I think you keep this O-line together, which they will, obviously, but
this year at least,
yeah, it's going to be a good O-line again next year. If he has another career season, I'm curious to see what his market would be.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, I mean, like, if he has another good year, you're talking about him and Carlton Davis really is the two big free agents to sign next year, and Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I have my doubts about Chris Godwin's long-term status on this team, but, for next year, he's here. So let's talk about, the other ones now. This is the more depressing ones, the guys that could be cut. Like, I mean, and Donovan Smith and Ryan Jensen could be cut, but Jason Light basically confirmed that they're going to be back. Yes, it would save them close to $30 million, but you're creating two holes on the offensive line. So why would you do that? And it's not like there's no brainer replacements for them. The Cameron Brate, he's a guy that I believe is making $6.5 million. That's going to have to either come down to $3 million or so. It's going to have to come down a lot, or he's going to be released. I just don't really think there's a way to keep him on this team at 6.5 and be able to retain everybody you want to. So and then Will Golston, I believe, is $6 million or 5.5, something like that. He'll have to come down as well if he wants to stay, or he'll be released. It's tough because those guys have been on the team for a while, but if the Bucs truly want to retain their guys, those are the tough decisions they're going to have to make. So another name, I mean, OJ Howard could, I don't think be cut, but they could maybe sign him to an extension or ask him to take a little bit of a pay cut. I mean, he's on his 5th-year option. The 5th-year option is $6 million, I think. So, I mean, they could ask him to take a little bit of one, or maybe they could sign him to an extension right now to lower the cap hit. It would be interesting, but I don't think they'll roll in that direction. If I had to guess, I would say you're going to see the Brady extension, the Evans restructure, Marpet restructure. I think you'll see a Jensen extension. Wow, that sounds good. That rhymes. And then
rolls right off of the tongue. I mean, what more do you need? That's a move to be made. I'll be a big fan of that move.
Yeah, and I don't think you'll see Donovan Smith extended. I don't think they're going to do that. And then I do think, man, I don't know. I used to be convinced that both Golston and Brate were being cut, but I think one of them gets cut and one of them takes a pay cut. And I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
I'm not. Because Golston's more important, I think, because Golston's more of a starter. He plays more than Brate does. But also, I don't know. Is Golston willing to take a pay cut? I don't know. I feel like Brate would be more willing to take a pay cut. He did it last year already. He's already done it before in the past. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, some other news that we had actually missed, the Buccaneers, they had tendered some restricted free agents today. Tight end Tanner Hudson, defensive lineman Jeremiah Ledbetter, Pat O'Connor, and then long snapper Zach Triner, the guy who predicted Brady to Tampa. All those guys are going to be back, and that's good news for the Bucs. There is
you got to keep the guy with the crystal ball. So
yeah, right. There you go. There is one guy that I'm actually curious about, and I'm pretty sure it's like a done deal. He's not going anywhere. But Aaron Stinney, what's his situation? Just because I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, he's a restricted free agent, I believe. So
Yeah.
I know Scott Reynolds had talked about this. Like, he doesn't think they'll put the tender on him because the tender's like $2 million. Like, that's a little much.
Right.
I think for Aaron Stinney. So, I mean, this is a guy they just picked up last year off a practice squad, for nothing. I mean, I know he played well, but like, it's 3 games. Like, it's a little bit much. So I do think they won't tender him, but I think they'll work out a deal. Maybe like, I think Reynolds mentioned like $1 million. I think maybe it's a little bit lower than that, maybe slightly higher. But I think Stinney will be back, but I don't think it won't be at $2 million.
And I only brought him up because, you did say it was only 3 games, but the most important 3 games the Bucs have played in damn near 20 years. He was filling in for Alex Kappa at that right guard position, and for what he brought to the table, he played pretty damn clean. So I was just kind of curious about him. I like him as a backup. You know what I mean? I just didn't know if he had a shot to have another team pay him. Not that he would have a huge market, but
I don't think so.
Yeah. All right. Let me check into the live chat.
Not when teams are already struggling for cap space as is.
Right. No, I got you. Checking back into the live chat. Thank you guys for hanging out with us thus far. Hold on, let me get this thing to load here.
Got a ton of people in the live chat right now.
Lowest tender is $2 million, so expect the hump treatment for a 1-year, $975,000 deal. How do you feel about Adam Humphries fitting into the 4th receiver role behind Scotty Miller if AB does not re-sign? We actually talked about this in the last episode, and I'm the eternal optimist. If you don't get AB back, go for it. I don't know, man. Evan's really upset.
You know what they're going to do?
Evan's really upset because they're going to make him... You know what they should do? They should make him wear number 7. He'll just be the Taysom Hill of this offense now.
They're gonna sign Adam Humphries. They're gonna sign Gerald McCoy. They're gonna sign everybody back. It just
Daquan Bauer's gonna end up back on this team.
Adrian Claiborne just got released.
Yeah, from Cleveland. I didn't even know Adrian Claiborne was in Cleveland, dude.
He's a solid player. I mean, he's not a fit for the defense, so like he won't come to Tampa.
I don't think Danny Lanzana's still playing.
No. I mean, did you want like Mark Barron? Did you want him back?
Dude, I was actually driving. I was driving down the road the other day. It was Hillsborough Avenue, and there was a dude crossing the street. He had a 24 jersey on, and it was like the 2012 jersey. And I'm like, oh, he's got a Darrelle Revis jersey, and it was a Mark Barron jersey. And
I have a Mark Barron jersey,
dude. It just put me in such a good mood, because I'll tell you what. I was really happy the other day driving over to my mom's for dinner. Actually, this is when I saw this guy. But the day that I saw the Mark Barron jersey, everybody on the side of the road had a goddamn Bucs jersey on. Well, not a jersey, but they had their Bucs stuff on. Like, everywhere you go around Tampa Bay, everybody's got their Super Bowl champion flags on their cars, and it warms my heart, dude. There is nothing better than seeing people excited about this football team. And when we started talking about Mark Barron, that's where my mind went to, because I don't know if Mark Barron was one of those guys that deserved a Super Bowl, but he's just one of those older players that you think of every now and again.
Yeah. So we have something in the chat. Do Bucs match any offer Levante gets in free agency? If not, how much are they? Well, they're not one to match any offer. There's something that this is why the Bucs aren't in cap hell, because the Jason Light and Mike Greenberg, they'll draw a line in the sand and they'll say, look, here's the number. This is it. Like, if you get another offer from somebody else, we're not going to match this. Like, we're not, like, let's say their number for Levante David is $13 million a year, and Levante gets 14 from somebody. The Bucs are not going to say, oh no, we'll give you 14. No, like, they'll say, we love you, but sorry, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we can't do it. So yeah. I do think there's a limit. I don't think they're just going to sit there and match any offer. If it's close, if it's like, I mean, if it's 13 million and somebody's offering like 13.2, then maybe. Like, if it's very insignificant, then yeah. But as far as matching like an offer of like $1 million or more, it's not going to happen.
And it's another interesting thing to think about when you are looking at the market that Levante David can draw. Somebody else had brought up in the chat earlier, if there's a team like Cleveland who wants to throw more than 14, 15 mil at him, they probably could if they really wanted to. He's also a guy who's he's also a guy who's over 30.
Yeah.
It's just...
It's not smart.
Yeah. I don't know. But I do think he sticks around in Tampa Bay, and then I also do think they get a long-term deal with Shaq Barrett done. I think both of those guys get deals done, and as me and Evan can agree, I think they'll be back in Tampa.
I'm not sure if this guy's being serious or not, but Keckmaster said just go get James White, which I think they might happen. And Julian Edelman, the retirement home.
I feel like maybe he was just being funny.
Yeah, I hope so, because Julian Edelman would not be a fit. Like everybody says, oh, just put him in the slot. Chris Godwin plays the slot. Like, Mike Evans played the slot a lot this season.
Well, he made an interesting.
Chris Godwin is their slot wide receiver.
He made an interesting point earlier, and I honestly think he was just fucking around. But he made an interesting point earlier, and he's like, listen, if I'm Tom Brady, because we had talked about Tom Brady, pounding the table for Odell, like a lot of people wanted you to believe. We were talking about that, and he said, listen, if the Bucs are in that situation, I just listen to Tom Brady and give him whatever the hell he wants. There were no legacy Buccaneers that scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and as sad as that is, it's also true.
It's true. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
I guess, man. You kind of get bummed out thinking about it. Like, dude, I wish Mike Evans had a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Right. Or like Chris Godwin or Cameron Braid or something like that.
Right.
Dude, even Joe Haig dropped a touchdown, and he was a free agent last year. Like, Joe Haig was not on the team. So how do you guys like Romeo Okwara as a potential cheaper option at edge? I really like Okwara. He's one of the guys that I had on my list for a Shaq Barrett replacement. From Detroit, I believe he's 26, 27 years old, so he's younger. He'll be a bit cheaper. I think he'd be a bargain for somebody. Barrett for 18 to 20 mil, or David for 13 to 15. I think I saw this in the chat before, so I think he's saying which one would you rather, which Barrett for 18 to 20, I'm comfortable with in either number. David, like, my limit is 13, so I'd probably say Barrett. If Barrett asked for 20 million and the Bucs want to give him 20 million, but if David asked for 15 million, that might be a little bit too tough to handle, I think. So what would you do if like let's say it's both in the middle number? Let's say it's Barrett for 19 mil and on a 4-year deal, and David for 14 mil on a 3-year deal.
Yeah, I mean,
which would no? I'm saying, like, which one you have to choose one. That's what he's saying basically.
Yeah. No. I understand. Man, this is just me. I kind of like the point that somebody else had brought up earlier. I think it was Nestor, when he said you have Vita Vea on that defensive line, and when you're looking at an edge rusher, I think you can open it up just a little bit. You can't just throw anybody over there. But I think Shaq Barrett is honestly more replaceable on this defense than a guy like Levante David. I hate to say it, but Jason Pierre-Paul was a Pro Bowler. He was a great defensive end. He's going to continue to be a great edge rusher for this team. Levante is a guy who deserves to retire a Buck. In my priorities, I've got Levante higher on my list than I do a guy like Shaq Barrett. If Shaq wants to go get paid somewhere, there's a team that will pay him, and I think he'll have a great rest of his career. But as far as, who has a higher priority on this defense, to me personally, I'm taking the contract for Levante and maybe filling in that edge rusher spot, either with a pick at 32 if there is one, or just, some guy in free agency.
Yeah, like I said, it's tough, right? Because the position, Shaq Barrett plays the more valuable position, but just this particular situation, you'd have to say, like, keep Levante David. Warren Sapp ended his career on a different team. John Lynch ended his career on a different team. I mean, Gerald McCoy is likely to end his career on a different team.
I think he signs a one-day contract with the Bucs when he finally hangs him up.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what Lynch and Sapp did as well. But
yeah,
actually playing wise,
yeah.
Levante David can't join that list. Like the Bucs have really screwed up. Derek Brooks, they forced Derek Brooks to retire because they cut him. They cut him so late they didn't cut him first day of free agency. They haven't treated their franchise players very well towards the end of their careers, and I hope Levante David's different. I think he is. I think they'll get a deal done, but I hope he's different. Now we're talking running backs in here in the chat. So, talking about James White versus Le'Veon Bell, James White versus Dion Lewis. James White and Dion Lewis, obviously two Brady running backs, basically. There's a lot of options. I know James White's the obvious one, but if Tom Brady wasn't on his team, I don't know how much James White would actually be mentioned.
Right.
Like, I mean, Duke Johnson's out there, Jerick McKinnon's out there, Tevin Coleman's out there. Like, those are 3 names just right there. Chris Thompson's out there, and let's not forget, this team is going to draft a running back in the first 3 rounds. Like, I'm fairly certain of that. Like, this team is going to be draft. Yeah. They're going to do that. This team's going to draft a running back because Ronald Jones is a free. They're not re-signing Ronald Jones.
No, I understand. No, I got you.
I mean, and I mean, they can't rely on Keyshawn Vaughn. So, like, I mean, maybe, if they do sign, that's what I'm saying, though. If James White wants $3.5–4 million, are you going to sign James White for that when he's just literally going to be your third down back? Like,
that's something else that we had brought up on the last episode too, at least, about the free agency running back list, is that it's a great list. You know what I mean? So getting laser focused on 1 expatriate or 2 expatriates that might have a little bit more chemistry than the next guy, all the Bucs need is pass catching back. You know what I mean? They've proven that the chemistry thing is something they can get over pretty quickly. So I'm not worried about a Jerick McKinnon over a James White, or vice versa. I'm sorry for the context I was using there. But I think there are a lot of great pass-catching running backs, and that's all you need. With Ronald Jones set to probably have a pretty damn good year and make his money next season, I think it's, the least you could do. And I also think it's important to not get focused on just one guy because there is such a great room.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's see. So, yeah, James White is your third down back, Nair Belka. Yeah, I mean, that's what we were saying. He's not, so you're not bringing him in to really do much.
Right.
Any chance to get traded for not.
He's your LaShawn McCoy replacement.
Pretty much, yeah. He'll just play probably a little bit more than McCoy did. Any chance they trade up for Najee Harris, I think they could go earlier. If they think he go earlier in the first, I don't think they're going to be trading up for anybody. Although this is the year that if they like somebody and they see him at maybe like 24, 23, maybe you move up. But I don't think it's for a running back. I think it would be maybe for like an edge defender if they really like somebody. Let's say like a Jalen Phillips. I know I put that out there earlier this week or last week, I think, but. I mean, I don't think they'll be trading up for a running back. I don't think they trade up regardless. If he's there at 32, I would expect them to take him. But I don't think they'll be trading up for him. So another thing, Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Keyshawn Vaughn. K-Master 5000 made a good point. Maybe it's just me, but I think Vaughn is going to do well this year. Rookie running back who's third on the depth chart with no offseason or rookie OTAs. Give him a chance, and I think he will do well. I was on the side of the argument that I really think the sample size for Keyshawn Vaughn is way too small. What he gave us was awful, but for a guy who didn't have rookie OTAs, didn't have training camp, and kind of had very sparing playing time, he did get a touchdown, I guess. It's hard for me to just write off third-round pick running back Keyshawn Vaughn as a bust. I can't do it yet. I need one more year.
Yeah, I know. It's just like the Bucs aren't going to rely on him. Like,
no, I know you're not in a position to rely on him, but damn it, give him the ball a little bit more. I mean,
well, okay, then where are you getting him the ball? If you sign James White to be your third down back and you have faith in Ronald Jones, where are you getting Keyshawn Vaughn the ball? It's just there's not it's just. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I know it's a tough situation being a rookie with he
had a couple of fumbles. Bucs Time said, "What did Keyshawn do that was awful?" A couple fumbles. He had a couple fumbles, but let's remember that those fumbles.
He had a fumble in the playoff game.
Those fumbles could not have come at worse times, if I remember correctly.
The Bears game, it single-handedly turned around that game, and then it was the Washington game. Okay, let's see. Some Bud Dupree talk. I think Bud Dupree is going to be a little bit more expensive than a lot of people think. I know he has a knee injury, but I think he's going to be more expensive than people think. Evan, why do you think the Bucs won't sign Ronald Jones when his contract expires next season? Because Jason Light has learned from this. He's already re-signed a running back in the past, then it's burned him. That guy's name was Doug Martin. He's not going to do it again.
Basically, to expound, because I also have trouble thinking Ronald Jones is going to be the guy who comes back after next season. If Ronald Jones takes a bigger role in that backfield, which he's poised to do, I think he's going to have a great year. I think he's going to earn his money, and I don't think the Bucs, a team with a limited window, is in a position to have to overpay for a running back. I don't think
it's going to be limited cap space.
It's going to be limited cap space, but there's going to be other teams in the market for a running back that Ronald Jones is. So I think it's just important to remember that it's not like he won't be here because he'll suck. Like, I think he'll be here because I think he won't be here because the Bucs just won't really have the money to pay him.
Yep, yeah, that's exactly the same reason Fournette won't be back. They would love him back, but it's just too much money. Is Gronk coming back? Yeah, like, to expect Gronkowski to come back. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like Shaq is easier to replace this year than Lavonte. It might be because, like I said, we listed, what are the linebackers you'd replace Levante David with? Not a ton of great options. But if you look at Shaq Barrett, there's a lot of different pass rushing options. So Rojo was 1,000-yard rusher this year if he didn't get sick injured. Yeah, we're not saying that he's bad. We are not saying that he's bad. We're saying that he'll probably get over 1,000 yards next year, and he'll ask for $5-6 million a year on a 4 or 5 year deal, and the Bucs are not giving him that. Like, it's not happening. Oh, here it is. Breaking news. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Ian Rappaport. The Bucs are keeping one of their own. Tampa Bay has agreed to terms with star linebacker Levante David.
Let's go, baby.
On a 2-year contract for $25 million.
Let's go, baby. 2-year contract for $25 million, you said?
Yes, to $25 million total.
Let's go, man. Now we got so much more to talk about. The ball is in Shaq Barrett's court, and I wanted to bring up earlier. Well, the ball isn't really. I mean, I guess it is. I'm sorry. I'm just excited here. Levante David being signed again to a 2-year deal. You heard it here first if you're hanging out live with us. Really do appreciate you guys. This is what we have been waiting for. I think that's the first time we've ever broken news like that live on the show because normally
on the brink of free agency, David stays home. Yep, Ian Rappaport just tweeted it. Yeah, well, it would have been a Gronkowski situation, right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, great news. Great news. All the Buccaneers have to worry about now is Shaq Barrett. And with the money that they're paying Levante, from what we know right now, how much money are they going to need to clear up to maybe make a run at a Shaq Barrett, since we know a little bit more?
Well, let's see. So it's what, 12 and a half. So, I mean, that's a fair deal. That's a fair deal for Levante David. So, I would have liked a 3-year deal, just to have a little bit more security, I guess, but whatever. He's back. So, yeah, they're going to have to clear up a little bit. Like, they are. But, like, depending – see, I don't know how this contract is structured yet. So that's sort of a difficult assessment. So we'll see what happens. But I still think, I mean, there was a report that they're talking to Shaq Barrett, right? There was that report. And then we'll see what happens. I still think the Bucs number is around $19 million a year. I don't really think they're going to go above that. So we'll see, but I do expect Shaq Barrett to test the open market. But yeah, breaking news on the show: Levante David is back. All that talk we just did was for nothing, because
I guess I gotta go back and like edit that out.
The Bucs will not. The Bucs will not be signing another inside linebacker this offseason with a big money contract. They will not be drafting one with the 32nd overall pick. Levante David is here to stay. Next news will be Brady new deal to free some money up. It could be that could be the case, because right now they would have negative, so they'd have negative money. So
and I also think that
the Bucs will. Go ahead.
I was also just going to bring up that I also think, since we are a little bit of time before free agency officially starting, I think it's going to be just a little bit before you maybe hear some news on Shaq Barrett, just because he is expected to kind of test out that market.
Yeah, Ian Rappaport, the Bucs wanted to make sure one of their top players and leaders stayed home. They spent the last few weeks working on it and have just agreed. David gets $20 million guaranteed on the 2-year, $25 million deal, a win-win.
Love that, man. I love that so much. Good news for Levante David. I mean, he'll still be at a decent age. It's a 2-year deal. If he wants to retire, if he wants to keep going, obviously they'll talk about it then, but a really, really good team-friendly deal. And where were we guessing his market was? Right around 15 mil?
Well, I guessed my guess was around anywhere from 11 to 13 in that range. So I wasn't really comfortable giving him anything over $13 million. I'm sure the Bucs weren't either. So
hell yeah.
I think it's a fair deal for both parties. And then we'll see what happens. I think Levante realized this is his last little payday. I don't think when he's 33 years old, and his contract's up again, I don't think he can expect $12.5 million again. But, it's a fair deal for both guys, and now they get to keep their defensive leader. And, it's a huge win right now. So, let's see. I mean, the chat's really useless right now, but it's all the same stuff.
Oh man, I can't believe you just called the chat useless. Shout out to everybody in the chat, all 82
of
you guys
absolutely.
tuned in with us right now.
Absolutely.
I don't know why Evan is so mean to everybody.
Okay, don't try to make me out to be the heel.
Listen, if there was a face and a heel on the show, you definitely be the heel, Bucko. I mean, you can't run from that.
I don't care. Guess what? The heel gets the pop most of the time, bud. So, and you know that because you watch wrestling, so you know that.
If you're a good heel, I mean, I don't know. Does the chat think you're a good heel? Are you a good bad
guy? Am I a good bad guy? Am I somebody that when I walk out you would cheer for? Let us know in the chat. Let's see. So Shaq re-signs. I don't think Sue is back. See, to me, Sue, it's either Tampa or like retirement. He hasn't completely ruled out retirement yet. He said that his wife okayed him to come back to play football, but he hasn't like completely ruled that out.
And he was one of the first guys to really come out and say he's ready to be back in Tampa, aside from maybe a Shaq and a Chris Godwin.
Yeah. Justin Capra, Shaq was must keep. He's gone now. That's not true. Shaq's not gone. I mean, he's what
Kevin's got a good take.
Neutral. That's a good take.
Evan can be a natural duck, replace the U and I at times.
We won't cheer anymore, Evan. Why not? Come on, like you got to give me some.
You're the dark match, man. Everybody goes and takes their bathroom break, buys their popcorns and their title belts.
Right. Yeah, I know it's terrible, and then they just I know, and then they come back and they don't even remember who won the match. And it's like man. Okay, so let's sort of bring this back to the Dominican Sue thing, because with that breaking news, we sort of went off kilter. Which actually, little inside scoop here from everybody, not on the Bucs, but on the show, on the show, we had to push this time back 2 times. It was supposed to be, earlier in the day. Then it got pushed back. Earlier in the day, got pushed back. If we had done those times, we wouldn't have been on to see the Levante David news. So that's a little silver lining there. So got some breaking news on the stream. Evan the Destroyer. Yeah, I like that. That sounds good.
Evan the Destroyer.
I'd rather sign CG, free up cap, and let Shaq walk. Sign Bud, he'll be cheaper. See, I'm not convinced Bud Dupree's going to be cheaper. Like, I'm really not. But anyways, back to Sue. He made $8 million last year. I think he's going to come back for less. Like, I don't think he can expect $8 million again. He's a year older. $8 million was less than he signed for with the Bucs originally in his first year. So I do think, I do think he'll be back. And I think it'll be less than 8. One more thing. Do you think Bucs might have a Super Bowl hangover, or will they still be hungry? I mean, anytime you win a championship, there's always a chance of a hangover. The good thing is that a lot of I know some places are opening up and stuff, but a lot of the places are still shut down.
Yeah.
What exactly can you do? Still. So, like, what exactly is there to do?
Here is one more thing that's important to remember. Is that
Steve? Steve said Evan the Destroyer of Pies. Man, I mean wings, buddy, not pies.
Second place destroyer of wings. Let's remember that as well.
Okay, then like bacon or something. Let's say that.
Oh man. What was I starting to talk? Okay, it's really important to remember that when you look at the teams with a history of
wait a minute. This is interesting. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Rick
good.
Stroud, though. Bucs creatively added 3. Did we? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we did. If you guys are in the live chat,
you would just on my end, you would just froze. That's all.
Yeah. No, you were talking. So we didn't hear anything that you had just said about Levante David's contract. We know you had brought up. We know you had brought up the void years, but I didn't hear the rest of it. So from the top.
Okay, so Rick Stroud, Bucks creatively added 3 extra void years, which makes his salary cap number around $3.5 million this year. So for this season, Levante David's on the books. He'll count for $3.5 million against the cap. So the void years is basically fake years, kind of, where you can put extra money. So that's what they did, and that's what they were going to have to do if they wanted to keep everybody. So we'll see. We'll see how that may fare well for Shaq Barrett, because it saves them more money. So we'll see what happens. But good deal for the Bucs. Good deal for both sides, and a really smart deal for both sides. So
absolutely. And I think for the sake of viewer enjoyment, listener enjoyment, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the stream right here. We got the Levante David breaking news. We talked about Chris Godwin getting franchise tagged. I really think we covered the wagon of a lot of Bucs news that's going to come out today. It just seems like the internet's starting to go out on us. A couple of people talking about how the stream is lagging. But I do appreciate anyone and everyone who is hanging out with us here today. As of right now, 76 people, which is a very fitting number. Levante David, 2 more years in Tampa Bay. And, of course, Chris Godwin locked down under the tag for next season. A couple of moves out of the way for Tampa Bay and an otherwise pretty tricky offseason coming up. But, of course, we'll be here to talk with you about it every single step of the way. Before we get out of here, I do need to take a second to thank our sponsor, eBay. Listen, you might not have known this, but eBay has actually become quite the legitimate sneaker marketplace over these last few years. As the original sneaker marketplace, excuse me. eBay is the place to go to cop the pair that you've been eyeing for a while. Whether it's rare dead stock at or the latest release, Whether rare dead stock or the latest release, find the exact shoe that you're looking for with eBay's authenticity guarantee. What the hell is wrong with me? With eBay's authenticity guarantee, your sneakers are meticulously inspected by independent professional authenticators. A team of experienced sneaker authenticators verify the box, the logo, stitching, and dozens of other inspection points. Each sneaker is also comes with an authenticity guarantee tag that includes a digital stamp of authenticity. I've said that word so many damn times. And it also protects the sellers with a verified return process. So for sneaker sellers out there, they've also eliminated selling fees on sneakers over $100, making it free to sell or flip your collection. So go to ebay.com/sneakers today. eBay, the world's best destination for discovering great value and unique selection. Wow, that took me quite a bit to get through, but here we are on the other side of it. Evan, any closing remarks?
Nope, just happy we were able to get some breaking news on the stream for once, huh? So, keep it up keep up the support on the page. Really appreciate it. You want the best updates, the quickest updates, follow me or Rhett. It's gonna be, that's where it's gonna be. Got a lot of other things. Like I said, this off season isn't done yet. It's just literally starting. So, it'll be so Mike Garafolo, it'll be a 5-year deal with 3 voidable years for Levante David. Voidable years are all the range this year as team maneuvers around the cap decrease. So, and that was from Mike Garafolo, of all people. So,
oh wow, the one guy who's just been on top of it.
Right. So, I mean, although he did backtrack and say it was going to happen. So, good stuff. And now, hopefully, they're able to bring back Shaq Barrett. Maybe you'll see some news about Levante, Ndamukong Suh, Gronkowski, those guys. Maybe Ryan Suckup, right? We haven't really talked about him.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Stay tuned, and we'll be on top of it.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting rest of the week. It's going to be an interesting next couple of the weeks, but as you know, we'll be with you there every step of the way. I think I'm just starting to break down at the end of the show. That's what's happening. But
I think the breaking news just threw it all off.
I guess so. I got a different state of mind. I'm excited. I got to go for a run now. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching live with us over on YouTube. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It is the best way to check out the show. We got fancy video, and we upload a bunch of other content that you can't get on our podcast feed. So it truly is the best way to experience the show. Make sure you subscribe It is free, doesn't cost you anything, and it helps out the show a ton. Also, we never really got the chance to say thank you guys so much for 2,000 subscribers. We're already on the hot road to 2,100. We're almost there. We're in the 2080s from what I'm looking at right now, so we're less than 20 away from 2,100, which is awesome because we hit 2,000 less than a week ago. So thank you guys so much. We've said it so much over the years, but this show really wouldn't be anything without you guys, so all of your support truly means the world. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to listen to us sometime, it's a little bit more convenient. Check out the podcast outlets, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean, anywhere and everywhere you can download a podcast. We are pretty much there. iHeartRadio as well. Follow the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. It's another great place to go for updates on the show and, of course, Buccaneer news as it happens, which I didn't get the Levante David post up because we were sitting here doing a live stream, which I'm glad that we were.
Guess who did?
Me.
Oh,
#1 Bucs page on Instagram. You can follow my co-host over there, Bucs_daily, coming up on 30,000 subscribers, and the best place to go for Buccaneer news on Instagram. You can also follow him on Twitter at EvanNFL, where he will not follow you back, and he'll probably belittle you about your football intelligence, but that's just what he does, and we love him for it, right?
Oh boy, I guess. I mean, I gotta play the heel role, so like that's my designated role now. So yeah.
Last but not least, follow myself, Instagram and Twitter at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. Like I said, that's going to wrap this episode up. Happy to have Levante David back in Tampa Bay, and of course Chris Godwin, as this team is just a couple of steps closer to making another run at the Super Bowl. It's going to be one hell of an offseason, and we're excited to talk to you guys about it. We'll talk to you soon. Until then, go Bucs.